around 6 million Jews were massacred by the Nazi army headed by Hitler. 1 pound bread in Indian currency, you have to cough up 1500 rupees because of one person's wrong decision, one person's ambition, one person's wrong guidance, and the dictatorial attitude. It wiped the world. You can do your own research, I may do my own research. There are only two fears that exist. All the other fears are man-made.
Hello everyone, welcome to Asli Kahani Podcast. Today we have Navaneeth CM again with us, and we'll be talking about so many things, that how our past is related to present and what all happening today is in the world. We are seeing so many destruction, so how it is related, why all these things are happening. So welcome Navaneeth ji, and
Thank you.
I'm very excited that we are again we are here, and I really a few things that I want to start with is so how Trump's decisions going to impact in India.
Once again, thank you so much for Asli Kahani team for inviting me again. Thank you, Nakul ji, for always you've been a man of wisdom. So whenever you ask this kind of questions, no, these are the kinds of questions that has to be asked at this relevant period, because it is testing times for everybody. So if we take from the days of World War One, World War Two, or the Great Depression of 1929, wherever people say there is a lot of issues related to economics. So now, if you take, even the Karnataka government are also taking the advice of Boston Consulting Group, BCG. So there is Ernest and Young. A lot of research companies are also even advising the governments, because economics were different even 2 decades back or 3 decades back. Right now, economic policies have really hit the front stage, because the population has increased, the life expectancy has increased, education, healthcare, everything has increased. There is a different paradigm shift in technology, paradigm shift in economics, paradigm shift in the way people think due to the opportunities. So right now, what is the stress? Stress are different. It can be mental stress or physical stress. There is also an economic stress also that is coming our way. There is loss of jobs. So there is loss of many opportunities that we are finding. And the manifesto which the American elections, Trump's party had charted it out, was very clear. It will be pro American. That is called as Americanization or Pan America, or something what we call in across United States of America. They wanted to have a first American approach. In that first American approach, it was the reciprocal tariffs. Reciprocal tariffs, the word is hitting the headlines across all the economic websites, economic papers, economic TV channels. That is the reciprocal tariffs. So reciprocal tariffs of Trump has got a mixed response across the globe. So for India, it is quite bitter, it is sour, it is also sweet, because there is a lot of exports. So in terms of dollar exchanges is happening, a lot of things are happening due to our exposure to the American market. So that is also having a demeaning effect also to the people across the globe. The Chinese are treating it a different way, European Union is treating across a different way. And what we Indians are doing, because we are a population of more than 140 150 crore, where we have to watch everything with a proper observation. It may be the government, it may be the bigger corporations who are working here, or it may be another different kind of stakeholders, and it may also impact the oil prices. It may also impact different kind of strategies with the government of India, where they do the budgeting normally. So if the budgets are always given for education, given for healthcare, for ensuring people, and it is also given for defense, so everything, what can be the deficit, that is what we call it as the fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is again where the nation is going. So what is the exposure of loans and how much we are earning? It is always revenue versus receipts. So this through this reciprocal effect, so it is projected that the Indian trade so would suffer somewhere between 8 to 12%. So this, where and all we can mobilize the resources for this year to just increase or always a fiscal deficit has to decrease. So we are finding different ways. The government is finding different ways where more and more of startups are being promoted, and at the same time the PSUs are also just defining them from Navaratna status to Maharatna status. So infrastructure spending is also happening at a very big way. So if the exposure to the American market becomes very big and we are not able to cope up, and there is a loss in the reciprocal taxes, so how the domestic market has to increase and domestic demand has to increase. So if exports are not giving us so much money, then what can be the manufacturing done in our nation and look can be increased. So that is a kind of things that is happening. So due to Trump economics that is also being done. Reciprocal tariffs is one, but it will have a different cascading effect also. But due to India being just projected at around 6.4 to 6.5% of the GDP growth. So, whatever it may be, the reciprocal taxes, so there cannot be very heavy impact on the economy. And you can also, just if we are speaking about Trump now, it is a theory of expansionist. So we call it as expansionist, that is America first. So he had threatened Canada to be part of United States, and he had also threatened Mexico to be another state uh, under USA. So if we are speaking about Trump policies, so there can be different directions also. So if we just go on to a bit of history, so who has not heard about Adolf Hitler? Adolf Hitler was an Austrian born German politician. So he rose to the rank of calling himself as the dictator. So he was very much the reason for World War II was in fact Adolf Hitler. So Adolf Hitler, he was born in Austria. So he migrates to Germany. So once he migrates, so in 1919 he was also called the title of Iron Cross. Iron Cross is one of the military trademarks, title marks that gave it, and it is the best cadet. So he was given as the Iron Cross. So he immediately joins the German People's Party. It is also called as the TPA or something. So once he gets into that, he in 1923 or 1924, between 1923-24, he tries a military coup on the then government, but he will be not successful. Then he will be arrested and he has to serve a prison life around 5 years, but he comes out so just for 1 year, and there he authors his autobiography called as Mein Kampf. So Mein Kampf it stands for My Struggle in English. And after subsequent, so he becomes he pushes the theory of pan Germanism. Germany is top, German should get the opportunities, we have to expand. So that is called as the expansionist theories. So other nations should come under us, they have to come under purview, everything should be Germany, and he builds the Nazi army. So even he also gets the title called as the leader of German Empire. Leader of German Empire, it is called as Führer und Reichskreuzberg. It's a German word that means the leader of Germany. So he will be respected everywhere, and the then president will also be asked to vacate for Hitler. So that is a kind of the total expansionist theory. That is a kind of dictatorial element that he becomes. So he will the First World War One. So if we just go there, so there will be a Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles will not be directly signed by Germans. So Treaty of Versailles, why the World War One started was there will be an assassination of Duke Fernandez along with his wife Sophie by a Bosnian Serbian student, Govrilik Princip. So he assassinates. So based on that, so the World War One starts. So that is the Treaty of Versailles. So there will be an assassination attempt. So but assassination will be clear. So both the Sophie, who will be the Duchess of Honenberg, and Duke Ferdinand. So they both will be assassinated. The World War One starts. So how it ends is, again there will be a treaty where the France will sign a peace treaty. So with the then government of Hungary and Austria. So that is how the World War One ends. But that will be in the minds of the Germans, and Hitler capitalizes that. The pro-German approach. I'm just relating how the pro-American that present. It has happened in the past also. He gives the pro-Germanian approach. He says the German Empire should be there, each and every corner, European, so American, Soviet Union, everywhere he wants to stamp his authority. So World War II starts with his over ambition. He invades Poland in 1939. Subsequently, he attacks France. So he attacks Great Britain, and he also attacks Soviet Union. Great Britain was itself a very big army. They had got all the hold of the world. So they had expanded everywhere, even till India. So then France were also expanding, and you had the Soviet Union, which they had got the Soviet Red Army, which was one of the most powerful armies, and his allied forces all joined against Hitler. So ultimately, there was World War II that started, and the World War II started so due to the invention of Poland. And again, Poland geographically very important role even in the Russia-Ukraine war, because Poland has got that land route, so without which the ammunitions, arms are not given. So the outside world, the Germans and all were helping Ukraine because of that Poland route. So Poland, there is always a mention a special place of Poland, even where Hitler also invaded Poland also. So if you see the geopolitical history, so whatever is happening right now, it was done even previously. But there, as the economics were different, the trade wars were different, the cyber war did not existed then, the chemical warfare did not existed then. So what that existed was the conservative war, using ammunitions, artilleries, missiles. So now different kind of trade wars has also taken prominence. And speaking about Hitler, Hitler was such a dictator. He did not give away anything. He attacked Britain, France, Soviet Union simultaneously. That'll be World War II, and there the devastation was so big. World War One devastation was 1 crore civilian lost their lives, and 1 crore military personnel lost their lives. But if you take the devastation of World War II, 8.5 crore people laid down their lives. 8.5 crore people lost their lives during World War II. Such was a kind of fierce battle of World War II. So again, there is another very interesting fact. So he attacks, he will put his brave face everywhere. Hitler is a different kind of personality where nobody can decimate him. So ultimately, luck was not there. He had done each and every possible massacre, and there were around 6 million Jews who were massacred by the Nazi army headed by Hitler. So the devastation was very big, and ultimately, that is what philosophically how the end of Hitler happened was really, it is quite interesting and surprising. So, can you just guess how Hitler died? A small guess from your side.
No, I have no idea about that.
Hitler died by suicide.
Okay.
Such a great dictator who was born in Austria, who was a great leader of the German army. He rose to become the numero uno, the only German, the Nazi army, so which were bringing tremors, turbulence across the world. He had participated in World War One, and World War Two happened because only because of him. Such a great dictator dies by suicide. So it is quite an interesting story that the Red Soviet Army, it comes and they almost capture the Berlin camp. So there have been attacks on the Berlin camp, and he comes to know, and he gets married to Eva Braun. So she was a long time associate of Hitler. He ultimately marries her, and both husband and wife kill themselves with a shotgun just one day after their marriage. just one day after their marriage. So Hitler and his new wife, but a long time associate, so they get killed themselves with uh, their own gunshot. So this says it all. Such a big personality who had seen so much, so attacks nations, the main reason for World War II, and who had got Iron Cross for his great achievement in the German army. He roses there. He does the massacre of Jews. So massacres, lot of devastation. One single person could be the reason for the loss of 8.5 crore people, along with 6 million Jews. Just you can imagine, because of one person's wrong decision, one person's ambition, one person's wrong guidance, and the dictatorial attitude, it wiped the world. And we can also speak about the devastation of the American forces on when they dropped that nuclear bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Hiroshima, around 1,40,000 people died, and 74,000 people died at Nagasaki. This was again an addition, a part of the World War only. So this was a kind of devastation that happened. And one context, if I can just refer, as we are speaking about World War One, World War Two, and the recent American trade war and Ukraine Russian wars also, which we are speaking about the devastations. So the biggest devastation till now known to the mankind was our World War II, where 8.5 crore people plus around massacre of 6 million. But if I can just say you, in our own country, in our own land, so there was the biggest devastation known to the mankind. That was during the war of Mahabharata. So during Mahabharata, there will be two armies. So you know that is Kauravas and Pandavas who will just fight. So that is technically called as Akshohini. So one Akshohini will consist of 21,870 elephants, 21,870 chariots, 65,560 horses, 1,09,930 infantry. That is the total soldiers. So this doesn't include the charioteers who will run the chariot. So they are not included. And such that is, this is, I'm only speaking about this entire tally will put you to one Akshohini. So there were 11 Akshohinis with Kauravas, where total of 24.5 lakh. So 7 Akshohinis were with Pandavas. So they amounted to 15 lakhs. So this is only the army, I'm telling you. 24 lakhs of with the Kaurava side, 15 lakh on the Pandava side. This is only the war. But including the civilians, there was a massacre of more than 94 crore people. So now if we are talking about our country, India's population is close to around 140 crore. So during Dwapar Yug, so if you can keep it, our population of 100 crore, only 6 crore people could have survived. So 94 crore people have been killed in this greatest war known to the mankind of Mahabharata. So the devastation was so huge. So people do not have an idea. So what actual war is? This is the war. That is why it is called as the Mahabharata. Maha means super big, super infinite. So you can't count. 94 crore people died. So during the devastation in both the camps, very few people survived. Even if you see the Srimad Bhagavatam, so there will be Kunti, so Uttara who has Abhimanyu's son Parikshit in her womb. So we have only the Pandavas, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari will only be alive, and Krupacharya being alive after the war. So and Ashwatthama will be the son of Drona punished. That is a chapter that is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So he comes there, he massacres the Upa Pandavas during night. So there will be a protocol that the war should not happen after the sunset. But he doesn't care. He comes to avenge the defeat of the Kauravas and to avenge the death of his father Dronacharya. He comes to the Pandava camp. So 5 Draupadi's sons will be sleeping there, called as the Upa Pandavas, who are the sons of the Pandavas. They will be massacred in the night. So he gets that Hatya dosha. So he kills. They do not have done anything. Innocent boys sleeping in the camp of Pandavas will be massacred by Ashwatthama. So Ashwatthama comes there. He'll be caught by Arjuna, Bhima also, but Draupadi will not do. But Draupadi will tell, because already I have gone the Putra Shoka. My five kids, my five sons have died. The same thing should not happen to Ashwatthama's mother, Krupi. She was called as Krupi. She was the sister of Krupacharya and wife of Dronacharya. So she says such a great chaste woman. So even in that time of sorrow where she has lost all her kids, all her five sons are dead, in spite of that, so she controls her intellect, she controls her mind, she uses her intellect, and she overcomes that sorrow, and she says, okay, let him not be killed. Krishna gives a choice to Arjuna. Bhima says, no, he has to be killed. We have to kill because all our sons have died. He has to be killed. So Arjuna will be caught in a state of confusion. What he has to do? He has to oblige his wife. He has to oblige his spiritual master Krishna. Also, he has to oblige his brother Bhima. So, what he has to do now? So, what is the decision? They have to punish him because he has killed the Uttaradikaris, the successors of the Pandavas, the successors of the Kuru race have all been killed. So, now what is the thing? So, as he stays in the phase of confusion, still Arjuna does one thing. He removes that jewel on his forehead. There will be a jewel that will be fixed on the forehead of Ashwatthama. He removes that. So by that there will be a oozing of blood, pus. Even now, legends say that Ashwatthama is visible. He is one of the seven Chiranjeevis. Ashwatthama, Balarvyaso, Hanuman, Shvabhishanaha, Krupaha, Parashurama, Saptaite Chiranjeevinaha. Among he is one of the seven Chiranjeevins. Parashuram, Bali, Parshuram, Hanuman, so Vibhishana, so Ashwatthama, and Vyasa, Veda Vyasa. They are all still alive till the end of Kali Yuga. They'll be there. So as he is one of the Chiranjeevins, also he will have that sorrow, pain till Kali Yuga ends, because that is the punishment that Krishna gave to him. He says that remove that jewel. Will be a permanent jewel on his forehead. It will be cut off from Arjuna, and that will be sliced away. So there will be pain everywhere. There will be a blood-soaked body. His aura of his face, the charisma of his face completely changes. He becomes awkward. He becomes ugly. So there is a kind of a punishment. But we have to what count? It is such a holy land, India. So Draupadi, in spite of losing all her sons, so she overcomes that, and she thinks, so how will Ashwatthama's mother face even if he dies? So this is a kind of great lesson for all of us, even during sorrow also. The forefathers, if you see the epics and all, so she just stood so strong. So just a great chaste lady. So that is why there is another small verse called as Pativratas. Pativratas are who have been very devoted to their husbands in the past. So there is one shloka also in their respect, that is called as Ahalya Draupadi Sita Tara Mandodari Tata Panchakanya Smaranitya Mahapatakanashanam. If you just remember Ahalya, Draupadi, Sita, Tara, Mandodari, so these were all the great chaste women. Although they had their challenges in the lives of their husbands. Mandodari's husband was Ravana, who played havoc. So, because of whom Ramayana took different twists and tales. So, but they all remained to the ground. They all remained to their culture. They showed to the world what is true womanhood is. They were the true men. How they classified, how they turned their sons into great warriors. Although their husbands had done some bad deeds, they did not allow that to just follow to the future generation. So that is a kind of a great land, harmonious land in which we are. So this is a kind. And Mahabharata, if I am just speaking, I don't know what and all the information hey, it is coming. Says such a big epic, such a great itihasa. And if we call the Mahabharata, so Mahabharata totally at the present form we have got around 1 lakh verses. That is why it is called as a Mahabharata. As we all know that it was written by Sri Vyasadeva, who was also called as Krishna Dvaipayana. He was the contemporary of Grandsire Bhishma. So he writes around 8,800 verses called as Jaya. He wants to just give a tribute for the Pandavas win over Kauravas with the title Jaya. It was around 8,800 verses. His disciple, his disciple by name Vaishampayana, he increases that verses from 8,800 to 24,000. After that, now if we see, it is 1 lakh. uh, he was Dvaipayana was the son of Lomaharshana. Now the present verse, it was written by Suta Ugrasavas, who is also called as Suta Mahamuni, the greatest sage who is believed to be still living in Naimisharanya, and along with his disciple Shaunaka Mahamuni. Suta Ugrasavas and Shaunaka Mahamuni, they both assembled together, and they have completed to 1 lakh, 8,800, 24,000. Right now it is 1 lakh verses. That is why it is called as the Mahabharata. It is so big. So it is having total of, to be very precise, 95,526 shlokas or verses are there. In that, there are 18 parvas. 18 parvas because it was a war that spanned for 18 days. And there are 107 sub parvas. That is subdivisions called as sub parvas. And there are totally 2,511 chapters in that. Along with that, besides the chapters, there is an index called as Harivamsha. That index is a poem. Index poem is only 8 times bigger than the biggest known book as of date, that is Iliad and Odyssey, written by Homer. So the just introduction poem itself is 8 times bigger than Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. Then you can just see the magnitude, the width, the impactfulness of Mahabharata. How big it is. Mountainous, Herculean, Himalayan. That is a kind of the greatness of Mahabharata.
Is it like all these scripts what we read now? There chances that it is polluted, like as people try to understand and they recreated.
There are
Few
chances.
things are
See, there are
not
chances.
properly understood by the person
Correct.
who translated.
Correct. See, Vedas are from mouth to mouth. So there are, if I just speak to you, and even if you want to just convey the same communication which I have done to you, so there will be a loss of communication. Loss of communication is general, but Vedas are so clear that is nobody knows who wrote Vedas, but it was segregated by Veda Vyasa. Only the segregation. So it was directly came from Brahmaji. Lot of Upanishads were added, and the end of the Vedas, where the knowledge is over, it is called as a Vedanta. So it started with Vedas, and it's Vedanta. Veda means Antya of Vedas. So Upanishads came later. Puranas is more of a colloquial things that came to the later part. Where if you can see another example, today is Sri Ram Navami, where we are speaking. You made me just remember to go to depth into the divinity of Lord Sri Ram. Lord Sri Ram, so if we can just say, he was the seventh avatar of Lord Vishnu, and he was born in the afternoon in the womb of Kaushalya and Dasharatha Maharaj. So he is the oldest god who is worshipped in the human form, because he was born 12,96,000 years ago. If we take the calculation chronological wise, the world is believed to started with Satya Yuga, which was around 16 lakh 84,000 years. So then came Treta Yuga, where Lord Sri Ram appeared, and it lasted for 12 lakh 96,000 years. Then Dwapar Yuga, where Krishna appeared, Lord Krishna appeared, and it was there around 8 lakh 84,000 years. Now we are into the Kali Yuga, which is closely around 4 lakh 32,000 years. So where we have crossed around 5,000 years. So still around 4 lakh 26,000, 4 lakh 27,000 of years is still there. And Sri Ram was so everything about Sri Ram is fascinating, everything. So the name was suggested by sage Vasishta. So where it is a combination, Lord Sri Ram is a combination of Agni Bij and Amrut Bij. Both makes Ram. That is why it's so powerful. There is an aura in the world. Aura, Agni Bij, Amrut Bij. That is why Ram. So if you pronounce it Ram, Lord Ram, Ram, it is a combination of Agni Bij, combination of Amrut Bij. And most of us do not know that they had the four siblings, that is Sri Ram, Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrughna. So along with them, there was another sibling to them called as Shanta. She was the eldest. So they were born due to Putra Kameshtiyaga. So before that, so Shanta was the eldest sister of Lord Sri Ram. So everything is fascinating. The way he lived, He was called as Mitabashi. He was not speaking more. And he was Ajanabahu. He was very tall, very well built, and he never got angry. So these are the kind of beautiful descriptions on Lord Shriram. So he was a great, uh, his greatness was everywhere. So how he ruled, how he was always in the path of righteousness. So how he cared for his wife. So how he cared for his brothers. How he cared for one single word of his aunt. So Kaikai, how he went to exile. So everything, that is a marvelous life of Lord Sri Ram, and incidentally we are doing this podcast on the holy Ram Navami day. The very fantastic thing. So these are all the fascinating facts of Lord Sri Ramji.
So by observing all those things, what is happening now in the society, so is it like, are we going towards another big distraction like devastation that's going coming in like few months or few years? Because there are so many places we are seeing either wars between different countries, and
Correct.
during COVID also it was supposed to be a biological war.
Correct.
Then still we are feel like we are coming to know that different kind of viruses or some other disease are spreading in different part of the world, plus the market crashes. And because if we see Indian market only, then there are two reasons. One is the globally what all is happening. Second, the companies what we have in India, they are like their complete thing is revolving around maybe like just to startup, then slowly manipulate the numbers, and then at last just attract the retail investors, come to the IPO, let the investors and the founders, they'll make good money, and after that company, it's all like all retail investors are losing their money.
No, a very, very apt question. See why it is happening. So when pre-globalization and post-globalization, the economic era, pre-dawn era, we call it as, and post-dawn era. So what happened during the economic reforms? Actually, we were not exposed to the world. After that, during 1991, under the stewardship of PV Narasimha Rao and both the ex Prime Ministers, Honorable Manmohan Singh and all, there was a lot of expansion that took place, and there was an exposure to the global markets. So we were a very conservative economy. But now we cannot do anything. That is why Sri Lanka failed, why Bangladesh has failed. Economic crisis is looming up because there is a theory of paradoxes that is happening. If there is existence of some product, so it is called as the price elasticity, price demand, everything. So technology now, what is happening, it has no range, it has gone beyond ranges, it has gone beyond territories. So each and every nation are in a type of stress. Now a great nation like Venezuela, who were the one of the cash rich countries even 15 years back, now they are looming in economic crisis because they believed that they could only survive on oil. They could not go to other sectors. They did not develop different technologies. They did not come to IT. They did not come to BT. They did not come to space engineering. They did not come to telecom. There was a lacuna in their approach. That is administrative approach. Now what is happening? What America does, or else what Chinese does, or what the European Union does. So every country need to protect their citizens from economic crisis. That is the basic thing. So what is happening is each and every country is having population explosion. It is not only in India, but some countries there is population explosion. Some countries there are things where elderly people have increased. The productivity of their nation as a whole. For example, New Zealand. New Zealand is a very small country. So it is having some tens of lakhs of population. It's a very small country. So what happens? It will always be under the shadows of Australia, which is a bigger nation. Australia is a country as well as a continent. It is having such a very big land space. It is more than 20-25 times bigger than India, because it itself is a continent, but they do not have sufficient people. And what happens is their traditional sectors, so they are also into oil mines, there are a little bit of technology, everything is there, but they are self sufficient. But what happens if their political leaders decides that they have to follow the theory of expansionist, just like how Trump would have his ambitions. So Chinese Premier Xi Jinping has got it. So they have got a lot of expansionist theories. First, they try to protect their own country. So once their per capita income have increased, so their gross domestic products have increased, they think that they are self sufficient, they are thriving, they have got good cash reserves, currency reserves, gold reserves. These are the indices. Gold reserve is one indices, cash reserve is one indices, and the oil reserves. These are on exports and imports. If their exports are very high and imports are less, okay, it is really good. So these kind of things are the economic indicators. These economic indicators have found America into be in a very a type of a supremacy. They have got it, because if we compare USA to India, so we are closely having, in terms of rupees, 1589 rupees is just the per capita income of India. So whereas America's per capita income is 69,000 rupees, if you just calculate in terms of per capita income per individual. So where is US, where is India? So that means, because our population is more, America hardly has a population of 30 crore. So we have a population of 140 crore. But now there are a lot of ambitious targets that India is also setting up. It may be the green switchover, even where will be carbon free. So by 2080 or something will be carbon free. These are kind of ambitious steps that we are taking. But as a whole, uh, the policy paralysis, what we call in India, is more. So you cannot take decisions, because being a democratic country also, there is a lot of hindrances coming our way. If there is one ambitious project is done, so we have to see how ecologically it is impacted, how environmentally it is impacted, how economically it is impacted, and what will be the livelihoods of the people. Even in Asli Kahani, you had just posted one heart wrenching story of where 400 acres or something of wildlife space, so it was cleared. So all the wild animals, deers, we could see peacocks frightening and going. So there's a kind of an ecological imbalance in the type of development. So once we come to this economic warfare, reciprocal taxes are one. Second is, manufacturing has to increase. Always exports should be higher. Why Chinese? So they still have got a lot of geopolitical ambitions. Is so they are funding Bangladesh, the Tista Canal, Tista River. So where the Muhammad Yunus had approached them, and they said that our seven sisters, so that is our northeastern states, do not have access to sea. So but he wants Muhammad Yunus is calling the Chinese premier to build dams, hydroelectric powers. So, but they do not know what happens. So that's what I'm telling. So Muhammad Yunus, so he may be a face of the Chinese who do not know. So what happened to Sheikh Hasina government? Why it was thrown? So then they tell that they claim these are all the theories, geopolitical theories. What we are speaking. So these are all the geopolitical theories that has been accumulated by our sources. It may be true most of the times. So geopolitical theories may be right or may not be right. So why Sheikh Hasina government lost its power in Bangladesh? That was a student movement. So during the liberation of Bangladesh way back in 1971, so it was said that, so they had developed a policy and a scheme for all the martyrs or the freedom fighters who worked for the liberation, who participated in the liberation of the Bangladesh freedom struggle, were given quotas. So that quotas has spanned for more than 5 decades. One generation, totally they'll be to fourth or fifth generation. They are only getting the government jobs, the medical facilities, the education thing, and they have been a part of the governance, part of the government. So the ordinary people who did not come under the ambit of that quota of Bangladesh freedom fighters felt that they are being isolated. So student population is high, youth population is high, there were job losses and all. That was the reason which was given. But there is another theory which says that the Americans wanted the control of the Saint Mary's Island, which is one of the most strategic locations inside Bangladesh. So then they bought the Nobel Peace Prize winner in the form of Muhammad Yunus, and he was reinstated as the chief advisor to the military, and he is calling the shots. These are a kind of geopolitical struggles, challenges that keeps on happening. It is, if you can go philosophically, it is the loss of intellect, and it's a desire. It's ultimately desire.
Correct.
It's the, if you see Ravana, he had the greed, lust. Duryodhan was also a part of it. He had lust and greed. So they wanted expansionist. They wanted to become expansionist. Duryodhan says that he will not even part with one feet of land. So although after the war, Hastinapur, when they come back and they tell, just give some land for us. So they say, no, even Krishna says at least 7 villages you give. They will not accept. So ultimately the devastation of 94 crore happened. So if you can come to the present theory, it is just desire, desire, desire. Everything. Expansionist, desire of expansionism, desire of power, desire of supremacy, loss of intellect. Political leaders are not thinking in an intellectual way. Intellectual way is not taking the degree from the fancy universities like Harvard and Stanford. It is one individual approach. As we were discussing at the start of the podcast, what happened to one expansionist desire of Hitler? World War II happened. So, where was the massive devastation? 8.5 crore people lost their lives. So, who is responsible for it? So, likewise, if you can just put it across, it is an era of military warfare, it is an era of technological warfare, it is an era of chemical warfare, and ultimately, the biggest thing, it is an era of economic warfare. Economic warfare, Venezuela, even if you see Venezuela, which was one of the most oil producing nations, 1 pound bread in Indian currency, you have to cough up 1500 rupees. Where it is heading? So Europe was so strong then, but now Germany is struggling. If you see, Germany is not even scoring. We are all thinking that our indices of the IMF, which has given our grading system of economy to be at 6.3 to 6.5%, we are thinking it is less. You know how much Germany is growing? Hardly 0.2%. There is no growth. Why is it's happening? The chancellor, so who is like equivalent president, like chancellor calls the shots. Why it is happening? Why Germany is not able to call the shots as it was calling 2 decades back or 10 decades back, where they were the economic superpower? France is also slowly struggling, but quite better than Germany. Spain, although do not have so much technology, they livestock is one of the, trade is one of the most important thing. They're quite better. Spain is quite better, although they're quite conservative. So Bangladesh we spoke, and Sri Lanka, they drifted, and it is the leftist communist government that is ruling presently. So even Nepal also, it was called as the Hindu Rashtra. So now the Himalayan kingdom is no more Hindu Rashtra because there were communist rules are also there. And Chinese have, it is called as the death knell. So Chinese economic things have been described as the death knell. So if Sri Lanka underwent a huge crisis, Bangladesh is staring towards crisis. Pakistan took very big loans, so they're not able to repay. So that is the Chinese death knell. So people, the country should be very careful. So they have ambitious plans. They take your ports. See, they enter with the ports. Ambition. There are two bigger things where Chinese are very clever. So they go into the country, and they give the ambitions of ports, that is seaports. If the seaports are controlled, ultimately your economics are controlled, seas are controlled, ports, seas are controlled, then they do hydroelectric power projects, again your rivers are controlled. So then power generation, so then they build roads, and they claim, so they give you the best infrastructure. They'll put corridors, expressways, they'll control the roads. So the country gives the ports, then the country gives the land, then country gives the rivers. So everything is with the other government. So this is what the Chinese death knell is. So the Himalayan kingdoms, like it may be Nepal or else our immediate neighbor Bangladesh, Pakistan. So Bhutan also, Indian army only fights. Bhutan has no army as such. It is the Indian army only that supports them. These are the kind of ambitious expansionist theories which are driven by the uh, so-called supremacy wars. So the supremacy wars are very big. So these are all the kinds of expansionist theory that has happened. It is driven by like that. See, they give their theories in the manifestos. American manifestos, when they went into the elections, so they called pro-American approach. They spoke about the reciprocal taxes. They said first American approach, jobs for Americans. Then they also spoke about the reciprocal tariffs. They gave the example of India, where we were levying heavy tariffs for their products. So how their imports were becoming costlier, and they went with reciprocal taxes were discussed extensively in their election manifesto. We cannot say that American, what Trump is doing, it is bad for the world. Every leader, so he goes with first nation approach. For the Chinese, it may be China. For India, it may be India. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi ji, may scout for India first approach. It is the right of the citizens, so that has to be looked upon. So they saw the rights of the Americans. They gave that. So he gave the propaganda of American first, where reciprocal tariffs would be there. And although he tells that it may impact the world, but he can protect his nation. So they've become more cash reserve. See, for example, if they are paying less on imports, and if the other country is putting heavy taxes for their exports, so the same export and import taxes, they want to make it the same. Walnut, for example, I'm just giving an example. If you're going at 4% tax, if you're importing, though, they will also put at 4%. Why? By sending India, they were sending to other nation, they were getting 4%, but while importing they're getting 16%. So they said, let be a uniform tariff. So there will be more cash reserves, so that will be there in American exchequer. So the federal bank also, they have just consulted the federal bank, so they'll have more money. So anyway, the indices, as where we are speaking, the fundamentals with the banks, so why it has to be very strong. So Indian banks have to be credited. Indian banks, although during 2009 crisis of Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, when it shocked the entire world due to the fall, so we could not expose, as our loans were less in the overseas markets. So that is why our economy was saved. So Indian banking system saved it, because we have a proper cash reserve ratio. We have a proper liquidity ratio, CRR. So liquidity ratio and cash reserve ratio. So these are in statutory liquidity ratio. SLR and CRR rates, repo rates are managed. It is a great work of all the successive governments. We do not tell the name of the political parties, but all governments have kept the banking system safe in the country. So if our banking system, because bank had the more money, even during economic crisis, our banking system had the money. If when the nation loses, when the nation becomes bankrupt, is their indices of cash reserve, their indicators of gold reserve, their indicators of banks running out of cash. It is the most dangerous thing. Even in Bangladesh or Pakistan or Sri Lanka, the federal banks did not have money, because the government did not have money. Taxes were not collected. Now, if we see the latest reports, it is 1.96 lakh crore. Last month, GST was collected, which is a phenomenon. It is a kind of a direct, indirect tax, and direct taxes are more. Even if our country says that it is a 30 lakh crore budget that we have planned, and so our you can say our revenues are at around 24 lakh crore. So there is a deficit of 6 lakh crore, where we have to uh, take it from other nations. So we were taking from Indian Monetary Fund, we were taking from Asian Development Bank. Now we have reduced that borrowing. So if the borrowing is reduced, then the interest you pay is also reduced. So cash versus receipts. So borrowing has to be reduced. Then fiscal deficit reduced. The deficit between the reserves, the receipts and revenues, it has to reduce. Even if the loans are very high, and if the our economy, that is our income, is very less, then fiscal deficit of the nation will be very high. If that indicator of fiscal deficit goes beyond that range, even we will also be just like another Bangladesh or another European country like Venezuela. So where they suffer the most. So economic indicators of India are really good, and American indicators are also good for them. So what we have to do is reduce the dependency on other nations, reduce the dependency on exports. So if America is not buying us, then we have to find other market for our goods. So America basically work on their Imports are very big for them. They import everything. But for us, we export more. So we have to find another alternatives, another governments, so another sectors, and we should also increase the domestic demand. So now rural India compared to urban India, rural India's demands have increased. So rural India has got more purchasing power parity. Increasing the purchasing power parity only makes us the economic superpower. That is an indices where we have to work. We cannot say that dependency on China can be immediately removed. Till COVID, even an automobile component, automobile company which were manufacturing 60% of the components we were importing from China only. So these kind of things cannot change overnight. You have to build technology, you have to do a lot of research. Robotics is there, AI is there, and DeepSeek did a lot of disruption. The Chinese uh, open source AI, they even hit Nvidia very badly. Nvidia, so they were the biggest. Even now, they are the biggest gaming company. But and if you see how America is strong, their worth of their companies are in trillions. Apple is there, Google is there, Nvidia is there, Microsoft is there. So there are so many top companies. So American companies which are there in trillions. So the market cap of that companies are in trillions. If same example, if you go to UK, they do not have example Unilevers. After that, they do not have something which can possess a value of more than in trillions. Say they do not have. America has got 10, 12 companies which has got the market cap in trillions. That is why it is one of the richest countries. So what we have to do to develop such companies in the trillion dollar level, it is increasing the market, increasing the technology. So whatever we are doing right now, domestic demand is there, but if there is an export exposure without Chinese, so many countries cannot survive, because due to the dependency factor that they have created. They can manufacture everything, they are into manufacturing now. They are also pioneers into AI. So during our last episodes where we were speaking about a stealth aircraft, where Indian Air Force uh, Air Chief Marshal was also sounding negative about Hindustan Aeronautical Limited. So they are developing stealth aircrafts. So there is a huge demand. So in a war-torn nation, so stealth aircrafts have got. So they are very strong in defense. America has got a stealth aircraft. They are selling it. So Chinese have got a stealth aircraft. We have not gone into that level. We have not gone into that level. So yes, so it takes time, but to become a superpower, economic superpower, fundamentals of India are very strong. Indices of India, economic indicators are strong, but it is not being enough. As I told, American per capita income is very huge. There is a very big gap between our per capita income and their per capita income. So these are all the kinds of things, so where we have to see. But expansionist theory is definitely bad. The Chinese, what they are doing, that expansion is getting into everywhere. So they are also troubling Japanese on one side. So and Pacific waters, USA on one side. So that is why they are thinking that they are a parallel world, because they've got the resources. If when their country's economy is very safe, then they try to, that is a nature, it is a political dynamics. So political dynamics is, if you want to expand, then you have to eye other nation. That is what Russia did. Russia was very big. Russia and Ukraine were a part of USSR, the defunct USSR. But now as USSR doesn't exist, so Russia is the biggest country among the Soviet nations. So that is again an expansionist ambition. They will show to the world that we are very strong. So you have to buy the arms from us. So if I am dictating, then you have to. So it is just like increasing the value of the nation through their military strength. That is what Russia did. And America is also just Canada is a part of American continent. They are doing the same. What Russia did it to Ukraine, but Americans are not waging a military war, but they are sounding alarm bells for Canada. They are sounding alarm bells for Mexico. See, USA is completely dependent on the labor workforce from Mexico. If you want a plumber or a carpenter, the skilled labor is from Mexico. They cannot just attach it. But this is a kind of a thing where they want to show that they are the superpowers. That is the new world. So as we are wearing masks and taking vaccination, telling this is the COVID norm, which is normal. This is the normal. So world will stay like this. But how we get adapted personally, individually. If there is a job loss, suddenly the job is not there, then there is nothing that you have to get perturbed at the individual level. If an individual is perturbed, his family so will definitely suffer, society suffers, community suffers. So what we have to do is, that is how the handling of things. So one small example, it had happened in one of the schools in Bangalore only, very long back. So there was scorching heat in the summer. So the students will be listening to their teacher. So they'll be profusely sweating. And then says they'll be scolding, what is this, what is this. So teacher calls all of them outside the classroom, and he says, look at the sun. He's like, what a madman he is. He's making us, we are not able to even close our eyes. We are profusely sweating. So why? And he says, what a beautiful summer. What a beautiful summer. So it says that, he says, summer should be like this. It should be very hot. The beauty of summer is the sun's heat. Beauty of monsoon is downpour, extensive rain. That is the beauty of monsoon. Beauty of winter is cold. So we are expecting summer to be like winter, and we are expecting in winter, so we should not feel cold. In summer, we should not feel heat. In rainy season, we should not have downpour. How is it possible? So that is the nature. No, we cannot change. Winter, it is cold. So we have to see the beauty. So what is the beauty of India? Beauty of India is its diversity. Beauty of India is its language, food. So beauty of India is Atiti Devo Bhava, Vasudhaiva Kutumbam. Treat the entire world as one. The culture. So our festivals. So our different food habits, different traditional dresses. So from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, lot of foods, lot of languages. So languages, dialect changes every 40 kilometers. This is, and we are so lucky to be blessed that India is the only country, I feel, in the world which is having only one geographical climate across, and only one time zone. Only one time zone. So USA has got multiple time zones. So India has got only one time zone, which is the greatness of the country. So sunrise happens same, sunset happens same. So almost the climatic factors are same. The rivers, so what we have, so such a beautiful water sources what we have. But this is again the problem, the desire for power is, it is also entering the state-wise wars. So state-wise wars between Karnataka, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. So these are the kind of things that should be avoided. If you are going for the national integrity, state wars should stop. Language wars should stop. So if we are not concentrating on economics, we are only concentrating on different things, then where we are heading?
So, by like what I generally feels nowadays, now whatever, like as you said, the state wars. So I feel like first of all, what we are understanding, like most of the things, whatever is happening in the society, the desire is a very dangerous thing, and it's like a desire is the seed of the complete forest, and it's we have to control, and we all know there is no end for desires. We should have that some middle ground to understand where to stop and how much to desire.
Absolutely true.
And second thing, like whatever as you said, now it's happening in our India, every state like having different issues with each other. I don't know, maybe after a few days we might see United States of India. Is it like, are we trying to copy that thing, like, because we all enjoy like togetherness, but few like anti-national
Correct, definitely.
people, they are trying to break the unity of the country. So,
Absolutely.
as a society, we all have to understand, we all have to come together and try to stop this.
I'll
What is
just give you one
happening.
example. Just 2 days back, Siddharth Yadav, just 28-year-old Indian Air Force jet pilot. So there was a crash. So he ejected his co-pilot safely, and he went into martyrdom. His father also was a pilot in the Indian Air Force. At 11 o'clock, 3 days back, we got the news that he is no more. Such a kind of individual, just 28 years, he was engaged just 1 month back. He was to be married this year. He laid down his life. These are the kind of youth, these are the real people that India needs, not the people who will study in the same universities, who will take education from our own land, who drink water from our nation, who will use the electricity of our own nation, and then also train their guns against India. So
Country, right?
nowhere that can be taken, nowhere that can be taken, where sedition cannot be allowed. So your own university students, so your own youth, they cannot turn against you. So where are we heading? See, Siddharth Yadav, people like him, they've laid down their, just imagine the fate of their parents, great son. See, more than the military personnel who are serving in across all the regiments, across all three armed forces, we have to appreciate their family, the kind of an enthusiasm, the kind of a sacrifice of their mothers. So okay, one day all mothers decide that we will not send our sons to serve the nation. What will happen to India? What will happen? Who will protect us? So their parents are most important. So their siblings, there may be their sisters, their brothers, their community, their family is important. If those families are not protected, then what will happen? So we should just deal this with an iron fist. Iron fist is required. Even there has been anti-sedition laws also. So if somebody burns the Indian flag, or else so different kind of properties, so that is called as anti-sedition. So speaking against one nation, so disturbing the communal harmony, these are the kind of things that you should inculcate. So it is a responsibility of the universities, responsibilities of the teachers, responsibility of the parents at home, responsible of the society. So everybody today is busy earning money, so they're not seeing where their nation and what are the kind of habits that are being inculcated in their kids. Nobody is seeing that. So if there is something that is taught from infancy, that will be a seed which will grow like a big tree, so in the future years. So whatever you teach infancy, after that then come your teens, then comes adolescence, then comes youth, then comes the advanced age. So in all this age, whatever we are our schools teachers, what are the teachers, so education remains the backbone. As education remains the backbone, so people are the backbone of the economy. So ultimately economy, education and economy go hand in hand. So these kind of anti-sedition and anti-national forces should be dealt very strongly. That's the only way. Or else
And
what are the message that you are giving to, see, other nations? So America, German, they've got zero tolerance policies. Nobody can attack their own nation. So these kind of things that it has to be discussed in certain forums. So all are equally responsible. I'm not telling there's only one university to be blamed, or else one ideology have to be blamed. So they have to be discussed. They have to inclusivity of India. So inclusivity lies in just taking everybody with them. So that inclusivity factor also includes patriotism, nationalism, nation first approach. So these are the kinds of things that people should understand.
that's like seriously that thing what you said na, that we all have to understand, because most of the time nowadays whatever things are running in the mind these, because I've spent many years in education, and I'm from Delhi, so I've seen all those things and all these anti-national because education has the power to change. But what I have observed, these anti-national people, they have captured education system like they are deep rooted there, and they are very smart. They have they have a great unity within them, and I have worked with them, I have worked with many of them, and I've seen their mentality, their ideology, how they are good narrators, and how they are able to brainwash the youth, and they generally target the youth, and that youth that are facing challenges like in their general life, and challenges are everywhere, but they try to portray in a way that if you start following our ideology, then your troubles, your challenges will be sorted out. They give like hell lot of support to all those people who are ready to understand them. So as a youth you have to understand like what is happening, start cautioning them, and don't just blindly believe them. This is what we really need in the society for now. And I really want to understand one thing, like why all these powerful leaders are like committing suicide. As you said, Hitler also committed suicide, and what's the main reason why this thing is happening?
That happened with Hitler, and if you can just go, I think 200 years prior to that, in the 17th century, Battle of Plassey happened. Battle of Plassey is always, people speak about only two, that is Nawab Sirajuddaula, and one is Robert Clive. Robert Clive kills Sirajuddaula on the battlefield of Plassey. He does so many things, so many expansionist things. He does so much. So he books all the Sirajuddaulla's generals. There will be 7 generals of Sirajuddaula. He books them. So he cheats. They all cheat Sirajuddaula, and ultimately he'll be killed. But after that, he suffers from Robert Clive suffers from childhood depression. Nobody treats it. For the outside world, he's always said that he is the most powerful Governor General of India. He annexed Arcot. Arcot was a place where he annexed it. He participates in the Battle of Plassey. He serves in Austria. So for the British Army, he was such a powerful ranked official. In India, he was in that Bengal Army. So that is a British East India Company. He was the Major General ranked officer, and he was such a big officer, but in spite of that he had the childhood tendency, he had that fear. So if he could not defeat, or else he could not achieve what he wanted, he was slipping into depression. That was his childhood trauma, which it was not corrected, and he did not share also. And ultimately in 1775, at the age of 49, he killed himself. So that was the end of Robert Life.
And like with the desire, we said desire is one bigger thing, and with desire there's another big impact. The thing is like fear. We all have fear of many things in the life that's impacting our life. How this fear manipulate our mind and life around us.
To be very honest, if we do our own research, you can do your own research, I may do my own research. There are only two fears that exist. All the other fears are man made. One is fear of the height. Fear of the height is there since a man was born, a man is born. It is the fear of the height. Second is fear of sound. See, anything sound, anything noise. So there will be sudden fear. It may be crackers, it will be burst of the tire, it may be sudden type of sudden surge of rains. So everything, if there is a sound, immediately you react. If there is a height, there is a fear of height and fear of sound. There are only two things that is known to the mankind. So every other thing, so people say fear of public speaking, so fear of facing somebody, fear of seeing people, or else a fear of traffic, fear of open space. There are so many other fears that has been added. So technologically, then there is a fear. If you get a phone call also, there is some fear. So before the phones were invented, what we were doing, there was no fear. So fear also comes with technology also. But as per the research which is available, only two kinds of fears are only there. That is a fear of height and fear of sound. Other than that, everything is man-made. It is all imaginary. Most of the things are imaginary. Fears doesn't exist unless we give a very big space for them to exist in the mind, or else fear will not exist. There is no space. If you give space, so water is a universal solvent, and it takes the shape of the container. So fear is also like that. If you are giving a container in the mind, it takes the fear of the container only. As how water takes the shape of the container, fear takes the shapes of the mind. It takes the shape of the mind. So only two kinds of fears. All the other fears which has come, it has become different kind of syndromes. Fears are also being used. If you just compile it, if you dissect them properly, only two. Other than that, there is nothing you have to fear. Everything has been created by man. So that is an anxiety. Anxiety creates stress. So if you think too much of the future, then 100% it is anxiety. Human mind can only think only small, but if we try to just think beyond, so imagination, it brings anxiety. And if you go to your past, it brings worry. So worry, anxiety definitely brings stress and fear. So this kind of fear doesn't exist, but it is only a man-made fear only that is killing the humans at a more faster pace.
You rightly said, because I'm understanding now कि most of the fear are because we were aware about something. We might have taught कि if you are doing this, this will happen. If we go back in the childhood, so that time we were not aware. So many things we used to do,
Correct.
but now we always think before doing. "Yo, this can be the response." So yeah, you rightly said that fears are human made. Like we
That is
all
why ignorance is a bliss.
yeah,
Sometimes ignorance is a bliss.
correct.
If a person is ignorant, if he doesn't know, he'll be happy. So
Mm-hmm.
once he's thought and once he just gets into that zone, no, the fear develops. Fear of the unknown is definitely there. If you go to a new place, so that is a fear of the unknown. A small child goes to a school, so she or he, the small kid will feel who will be my friends, what will my teacher do. So that is fear starts from your childhood. So any new place brings you fear. Any new meeting brings you fear. That is a kind of fear will always be there. That, see, you cannot be away from fear. We have to understand that you have to live with fear, but that fear should not destroy your happiness. That fear exists since the birth. A baby cries, a baby sees blood, so it comes out of the blood, so that fear is always there. So but only two fears known is only the fear of fight and the second is the fear of noise. So other than that, everything is man-made only. So it is created too much, and with lack of guidance, lack of discipline, and lack of intellect. Nobody is see. You have to use your knowledge to question. That is what Adi Shankaracharya also says. So whatever people are telling you, don't accept it. Question it with your gnana. Gnana means knowledge. Then use your intellect, buddhi. So even the top management thinkers also say the same, but you are not finding this intellect in the politicians, intellect in any form of people who are ruling. So that is where
Any
the problem is.
authority
So that is hitting the policies which the government makes, that is hitting the individual. If individual is not earning, so then there is a heavy tax that is levied on the individual. So suddenly petrol prices are increased, suddenly essential commodities increase. I'm telling you at a very basic level. So it is called as the economies of scale. Economies of scale, suddenly price surge will bring a kind of fear. Suddenly there is a, so if there is a price increase in the food, so immediately the people who have just planned their expenditure goes out. That is one stress. So if there is another kind of education where people have to admit them, so admissions for the kids, it also goes up. That is also fear. So this is a kind of an existential fear. This is a fear of existence. So that is brought due to the economies of scale. So we have to be very careful. That is why whenever the economy is selling, that is, India is always a saving economy, but at the same time, so economies of scale where the government are also increasing the rates or everything, so they should not trouble the people. It should be a good governance. So Ramarajya, if we are speaking about that, governance should be good, and nobody is seeing the health. It's mental health of the citizens, so or economic health of the citizens, both are very important. So while governance is a very serious job, that is what we call it as Rajniti should be very strong, where it is not only a fancy statement saying that government is for the people, by the people, and to the people. You have to show it on papers, you have to show it on actions. So that is how people are kept happy. Even the price rises have to be controlled. Even if it is done, then there are different kinds of allowances that are given. Economic hindrance is also the challenge that is bringing a lot of stress, anxiety, and fear among the people.
It's again a nice talking with you, Navneet ji, and
Thank you so much.
we'll be like doing again, as I always says, you are like Asli University for
Thank
us.
you.
Whenever we meet, we learn a lot, and there are
Definitely.
lot of things because you are an ocean of knowledge and wisdom. So we'll be doing more episode in coming days, and thanks for like again taking out time here, and we have a very small token of appreciation for you, so we want to
Oh,
present
thank
you
you.
that one.